So, how do you as a footballer make sure that you have the best mindset that will help you have as the best prerequisites to have a great performance on the pitch when you're playing? So this idea to make this video came from a conversation I had with a young football player yesterday. So he was telling me about like he's kind of lost the passion for the game, and I asked him, so what's the reason you have lost the passion? And one of the things he mentioned was like, so he wasn't starting and he was subbed in at random shitty times. And I could hear by the way he spoke, like, obviously, you don't have passion if you're like, oh, well, I'm not starting in, I should be starting, and now he's subbing me in and it's a bad time. Obviously, if that's kind of the context you have, there's not much passion in that, right? And that affects the performance. So he had also experienced a decline in his performance. So the first thing I said to him, I was pointing him to, I'd rather say, is so the fact is you're not starting in and he's subbing you in. The coach is subbing you in at some point in the game. That's the objective. That's the truth of it. But you have all sorts of thinking about it. That you should be starting and this is a bad time to be subbed in and da 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 da. That is your thinking. It's absolutely nothing to do with the situation. What you struggle with is the lack of acceptance of you don't accept reality. You have resistance to reality. And what happens when we have resistance to reality? Well, reality is what's going on out there, right? Him being on the bench and thinking I should be starting in. It's fine that he wants to start. Like we all have preferences, but once we have resistance to how things are, it creates stress and pressure inside the body. And stress and pressure is not the best prerequisites to have a great performance, right? So I said to him, like, that's the first thing to take a look at. Like, can you be with how the situation is? Can you be with sitting on the bench, with being subbed in at some point in the game? It's what he was struggling with. Like, he's not a victim of his circumstances, of the situation. He's a victim of his perspective, which we all are. It's not about the circumstances we're in. It's about our perspective of it. He had an idea about how things should be. And that is what he's struggling with, the idea, because reality is often not how we want it to be. And that's what he struggled with. So that's the first thing. Can you be with how the situation is? That creates freedom. The second thing I pointed him to was like the way he was creating his performance by his perception of the whole thing. If he's going into the game like, what's the use? That was basically his mindset. What's the use? Like, I only get 10 minutes, like, what's the use? It's probably not the best place to have a great performance from, right? So I said to him, I said, like, this is not the truth, but it's a way more powerful way of thinking about it. I said, what if the time in which you're subbed in with, the time you're being subbed in is the perfect time for you? What would that feel like? Thinking that, coming from the place of, oh, this is the perfect time, this is the perfect amount of minutes that I need. Again, I'm not saying he'd prefer to have 10 minutes, but his preferences is not the important thing. And I asked him, so what would that feel like? He said, like, I can feel like that. Awesome, like freedom, confidence, joy. Right. Imagine going into the game with that experience, with those feelings, with that energy, compared to what's the use? And his eyes lit up and he just saw the possibilities of this. So, this is a way which you can create your own performance, and you're already doing it. If you have a lot of negative thinking, you're in a negative energy, and you probably won't do as well as if you have like a, a more powerful way of perceiving things. And I said to him, like, how much time do you need? Like, what's the fastest hat trick? And this might not be the fastest, but he said, well, Lewandowski scored like a hat trick in 5 minutes. I said, okay. So if you have 15 minutes, like 15 minutes, that's enough time to score a couple of hat tricks. Like, how much time do you need? Like, obviously you need some time to run in the right position, but like, is 30 seconds enough to make a huge impact? 20 seconds, 15, maybe even 10 seconds? Again, I'm not saying anyone prefers to play 10 minutes compared to 90 minutes. But it's the mindset which you have, it's the energy which you're playing from. So ask yourself this. You can do it all the time. What if this is the perfect situation? What if this is the perfect amount of minutes I get? What if this is the perfect game for me? What would that feel like? And then you play, perform from that energy.